Hey patrons, what's going on? Nolanium here, and we're going to be giving you an introductory lesson in how to draw noses. I had an inquiry recently, someone wanting to learn, basic features, noses, mouths, eyes, stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to draw a basic fundamental nose and then how to take that nose and leverage it into different noses. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the bridge of the nose. This is typically where you would see the eyes, right? And then the nose I'm going to be drawing today is going to be kind of like your basic comic book style nose. So I'm adding a little ridge to it right here, as you can see. Most noses have a little tiny ridge, a little bump where the cartilage hits the skin. I'm going to the tip of the nose. If you want to add a more three-dimensional feel, you can also kind of add a couple lines here to kind of show the tip where the light's hitting. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some nostrils to the side right here. And I'm going to close them in a little bit. Draw two lines going upward, and then they're meeting back right around here. For the sake of you guys being able to see it a little bit better, I'm going to add some inks on it. So I'm just going to kick the opacity down a little bit. I'm going to go to my ramen brush. And let's go ahead and ink that. Now, as you can see, I'm modulating my line as the lines are kind of moving outward. Now, this is kind of just like your standard run-of-the-mill nose. I would call it like a vanilla nose, if you will. It's kind of like a one-size-fits-all for drawing a man's nose. As you can see, I'm also kind of giving the illusion of the nostrils receding into the back a little bit. Oops, let's fix that. It's not quite as even as I would have hoped. There we go. So this is just kind of like your typical run-of-the-mill nose. What I'm going to do is, for the sake of showing you, I'm going to show you different angles of the same nose, and then I'm going to show you how you can use this to kind of launch into different kinds of noses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my drawing guide right now, and I'm going to make some guiding lines to kind of show you how we can take this one nose. I'm gonna get one here. I'm just holding down on my my pen after I put my lines in. One right there. And then let's get the tip of the nose. There we go. And then the bottom of the nose. Oops, not quite. Ah, much better. There we go. Okay, I'm going to turn my drawing guide off now. Now I've got these lines. I'm going to knock the opacity down a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I've got this nose here that I've built the frontal portion of. Now I'm going to show you how it would look in different angles. Right now I'm going to do a side angle. So using the lines that I've used, this would be the cranium, okay? There's the ridge. It's arching out. This is the tip of the nose. You see these lines right here that indicate the tip. This is the nose coming back in. Here are the nostrils, which are a little bit longer now because we're looking at it from the side. And now we're going to show a little bit more of where the nostrils lie. I'm going to show those indicating lines again to show where the tip of the nose is. And I'm going to actually close that off a little bit. And I'm going to bring that in a little bit. So now we've got a side view of the nose. Pretty cut and dry. We're not going too crazy with detail here because you need to understand the fundamentals before you can really dive into the hardcore detail. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink this portion here. I'm actually going to bring this out a little bit more. Bring that in. Oops. Get my little indicator lines to indicate that there's a little something coming out there. Nostril. And then let's go ahead and just draw a little bit of the brow. Bam, there you go. Okay, so there's a side view right there. It's really not that drastic of a leap to go from frontal to a side view, to be frank with you guys. It's just all about understanding the proportions and how the lines interact with one another. Now we're going to do a 3/4. Go back to my dry brush. Here we go. 3/4 is my favorite angle to work with. So I'm going to make that ridge a little bit more drastic. I'm going to get this nostril here. I'm going to indicate a little bit more of the ridge. And this is where things get a little tricky for people. We are going to just throw in a little hint of the other side of the nostrils. Okay. Let's go back to inks. Let's get my ramen brush. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly ink in one side of the bridge, go a little darker in there, and then start right about here, work my way down, swoop in a little bit, swoop in a little bit less, there we go. We're going to close this in. Add our indicating lines. And then we're going to get our nostril in here. I always like to throw a little bit of line work behind the nostril just to show that there's a three-dimensional aspect to it. And there you have it. You've got frontal, side, profile, 3/4. Now, the question you might be having is, okay, I can draw your basic nose. How do I take this and turn it into different noses? Well, it's quite simple, really. Squash and stretch proportions up and down to the side. Case in point, if I were to take these noses, and let's say I've got my freeform transform tool, I just change these noses, and this one right here, I just turn it into a much wider nose, a more squished nose. Obviously the brows shouldn't follow suit, but with noses you can really squash, stretch, warp. You can make the nostrils larger, you can make them less prominent. Another thing you can do is you can round it out a little bit more where the tip of the nose is, like so. You can make nostrils a little bit larger, which I'll show you that right now. But basically, you can take the nose that I just showed you guys and you can really launch it into all kinds of different types of noses. For the sake of showing you guys some examples, just because it's one thing to say something, it's another thing to show you, I'll draw a couple quick noses so you can kind of get a feel for different ethnicities. Let's say if I'm going to draw an African American man's nose, typically things are a little bit rounder. A little more pushed a little closer to the face. So in that instance, I'm not really going to throw tons of line work in to portray an African American male's or female's nose. Let's say you've got a small child's nose. The tip is going to be much more rounded. And the nostrils are also not going to be quite as sharp. So that kind of give you a little small example of what a child's nose would look like. It'd also be closer to the eyes than it would for an adult male or female. Those are eyes, by the way. Really bad eyes, but you get the point. But really, when it comes to noses, it's important to experiment. It's important to know your proportions. It's important to know your angles. So what I would do if I were you guys, if you want to get some real quality practice in, get some photo reference, draw noses from the side, draw noses from the front, from the quarter, 3/4 angle, and then fudge with them, mess with them a little bit, put your spin on them. Draw hooked noses, draw smaller noses, and that'll really point you in the right direction as far as noses are concerned. So thanks a lot, guys, for your time. Thanks for joining me with this video. I hope it was helpful to you. This one is going out to all the patrons, bronze, silver, and gold. The bronze patrons, you guys will be getting lots of fundamental videos, stuff like noses, eyes, mouths. We'll get into hair. We'll get into facial features. We'll get into basic proportions, line work, stuff like that. And then the more advanced stuff is going to be for the silver and gold. You guys will get real straight up process videos from beginning to end. So anyways, I hope you guys are all having a great day. I hope whatever you're working on is fantastic, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.